Be seated, I'm almost finished. And so it is, my brothers and my sisters, that God is calling us to live a no strings attached life. To release it, and to release it to Him, and to release it to His purposes and His plans, so that His will can be done. Well, now let's dive into the text, because in the text we find out that Jacob, who is the father of 12 boys, looks as if he has lost 2 and he's about to lose 1. And the text says, somebody ought to shout, the text says that unbeknownst to him, his lost son Joseph has been positioned in the kingdom of Egypt for the purpose of remedying the problem, which is a famine in the land. Joseph knows that his brothers are his brothers, but his brothers don't know that Joseph is their brother. Oh, if I had time to preach this, I would help you to understand that there's some stuff that God is hiding from you, that there is some stuff that God is keeping concealed from you, to cause you to walk and to live a life of faith. Oh God, if you can't figure it out, just follow God. If you ain't got the answers, just trust God. If you don't know whether you ought to turn left or turn right, just stand still and trust God. Who am I preaching to right now? Who knows that God will keep some stuff hidden from you just so you can trust Him. God will let some things be complicated and confusing just so you can throw up your hand and shout, Father, I stretch my hand to Thee. No other help I know. Somebody ought to shout, yes. God will keep some stuff hidden from you so that you understand that everything in your life is a resource. But when the resources run out, you can look to the source and get everything you need. Am I preaching to anybody in here who knows what it's like to have resources fail you, to have people fail you, to have stuff fail you? But when you look to God, everything that you missed, He supplies it. Somebody ought to shout, yes, God. And so now, Jacob, at the behest of his son Judah, he releases gifts. Somebody ought to shout gifts. And the gifts that Jacob releases positions his family and consequently and eventually himself to experience reconciliation and abundance in the time of famine, blessing in a dispensation of curses, and favor in a time of hardship. Somebody ought to shout, yes, Lord. You would have to have been here last week to really be on the same page, because when he releases Benjamin, the text says he also released a whole lot of other stuff. Isn't it amazing that when you finally get what this fact, when you finally understand that God wants to bless you if you release something, you will be willing to release everything. Y'all missed what I said. I said, if you ever wake up to the fact and ever embrace the fact that in order to live the blessed life and in order for your family to live in a blessed plane, you will not just be willing to release something, you'll be willing to release everything. God, you want that too? You want that? You want them too? You want the other thing too? Before you know it, you'll be standing there naked before God, which is where He wants you anyhow. You ought to touch your neighbor, say, neighbor, I've learned that once you understand that releasing gets you in a place of blessing, you'll be willing to give anything up. I'll be willing to give my car up. I'll be willing to give my house up. I'll be willing to give my friends up. I'll be willing to be misunderstood by my family. I'll be willing to let my children walk away. I'll be willing to let everybody flip on me. I'll be willing to look crazy because I understand that what I'm about to get is a whole lot better than anything I ever lost. Somebody ought to shout yes. I'm almost done. And notice what happens. My brothers and my sisters, your time, your talent, and your treasure are all gifts that if yielded to God for the purpose of serving and helping others, they will usher you and yours into the Ephesians 3:20 dimension. You remember what Ephesians 3:20 says, that God is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all that you could ever ask or think, according to the power that's working in you. Oh, y'all missed what I said. Here's the Kevin Long translation. God is able to blow your mind so that even when you start asking him for crazy stuff, he does something crazier in return. God is such a big God that he's able to meet your expectations and super exceed your expectations. God is such a big God that if he tells you to walk off the job, he won't just give you another job. He'll give you your own business. I won't preach whether you don't want me to or not. God is such a big God that if he takes everything away from you, he'll give you more than you've ever had. God is such a big God that if you will trust him to heal your body, he'll deliver your mind and your spirit too. God is such a big God that whatever you give up for his sake and for the sake of the kingdom, you'll spend a lifetime, and your children and your children's children will spend a lifetime trying to spend it all. Touch your neighbor, say, neighbor, if the preacher don't preach no more, I just got my word. Whatever God asks me to release, whatever God asks me to give up, whatever God asks me to detach from, I'm willing, because I understand that what's coming from me is better than what's been. I think you need to prophesy to 3 people and tell them, neighbor, what's coming for you is a whole lot better than what's been. What you're about to get is better than what you've ever had. What you're about to receive is better than what you release.